Welcome to episode 10 of the Build Insite podcast. My name is Luke Callery and I'll be your host today. I'm also joined by my co-host Dean over in Victoria.
I think there's we're in a time too. I know, talking with Zara and myself, there's a lot of uptake. I suppose builders, a lot of us being blokes, get that. I suppose tarred with the brush. We've got this. I suppose hard to approach. Maybe thick-headed or whatever it is, but there's a real movement with builders, wanting to build healthier, build better, high performance homes. So I think, before we move on, I know all three of those companies, like, we've had a look through the ranges and, if anyone's listening and wants to actually get samples, it's easy to do. So you can sort of get your hands on different samples from what we've chatted about, show your clients, show your design teams, and you can incorporate those quite easily in different ways for any type of construction. A lot to keep covering. From we could keep going on all day about them anyway, Julia.
Ways.
Definitely sounds like McCormack's has got some incredible sustainability values, that's for sure. All of those products they're quite new to me, but yeah, definitely going on what Dean said. There's some interesting stuff there, especially, like, I'll just backtrack really quickly back to the Thermery board. I think there's a lot of people get a misconception that any timber can just be recycled at an end of life, and there's unfortunately too many products that get termite treatment and preservation treatment that essentially all it's good for is chucking it in a hole in the ground at the end of the project. So from end of life,
not a great outcome.
No, not at all. So end of life, it definitely sounds like the way to go. Julia, we might just touch on, Dean's given me a little bit of a rundown, but just your background and how you got into the construction industry.
I ended up in it accidentally. Maybe I just give you the 2-minute version, Dean, not the 2-hour version. Basically, I started my career with Dulux in New South Wales, out of necessity, because I had a little boy at the time and I needed to get home, needed to be able to get home for him. But I ended up just loving this industry so much. So I actually was with Dulux and then moved on to Cabot's and Feast Watson and Intergrain, which was part of Dulux Group. I was with that company for 12 years and worked my way through New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, and then Victoria. Called me a gypsy. And then because I'd had so much to do with timber, of course, through all those wood care products, I just loved it. And so I ended up going to Sia Abrasives, which, of course, you can imagine with abrasives how much you have to do with timber. So I was dealing with the board companies and the flooring companies, all of the floor sanders. And then I got my first gig in a timber company, Timberlink, who used to be Guns. You guys might remember Guns. But yeah, Timberlink is at the time was one of the largest pine manufacturers. So all your MGP 10 and 12. And then through COVID, I got into frame and truss with ITW Pryda. So I know you chippies always think of it as gang nail. Yep. But worked with Pryda for a little while, and also Proline. So your Build X, Ramset, Zenith. You guys would know the screws. I'm sure you've all used them. And then, through COVID, got the phone call from Phil. I knew Phil and Jane from the frame and truss industry, and they reached out about doing things differently. And it was sort of like, where do we start? And that's where this whole journey began. But I mean, I've really enjoyed dealing with builders and painters and floor sanders and just getting to understand, what are the pain points for you guys, and how, as a supplier, how do we make your job easier? But also understanding when we want you to change the way you're doing it, how do we do that? So again, how do we make that easier for you? What are the kinds of things you need on site? Because as suppliers, you guys would know, I mean, we can dream up all these ideas, but at the end of the day, it's got to work on site. Otherwise, you just won't change. But yeah, that's how I ended up here.
Well, you've capped that pretty well. Like Julia, she's probably being modest, guys, she's got an exceptional backstory and done a lot in the industry. So when I started off saying she's a trailblazer, she's definitely got a lot of great experiences and done a lot of great things. So, which probably leads to my question, Julia. And what's your inspiration to be involved with sustainable building materials and your drive?
Oh, a couple of things. One is definitely my health. So I've had a few health scares over the years and realized that we need to do things better as an industry. And having, of course, you can imagine I worked with a lot of chemicals when I worked with Chulux Group. And so, got exposed to a lot of those things. And so very early days, when I was the commercial markets manager for Cabot's, the wood care division, I worked basically for 2 years to switch as much of our sales as I could across from polyurethanes and isocyanate-based products into water-based products because they were much healthier for our floor sanders. So that healthy side of it is really important for me. But also, honestly, I just look at my kids and my grandkids and I go, oh my God, we've just got to look after this earth for them because we've got to think about what legacy are we actually leaving. And so, when I'm making decisions around what are we going to push and what are we going to support, I always have that in the back of my mind is, are these good products that we can stand behind knowing that they are the healthier, not always the healthiest, but the healthier, every little increment that you can do differently and every little improvement is, one step closer, isn't it? It's just, yeah, I mean, I can't do much more than that, but that's where it comes from.
Well put. It's definitely small increments are better than none. And I feel like, everybody chips in, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You can't change everything yesterday. So you've got to do it incrementally.
That might be a good topic to lead into actually is, what's your opinion? How can you see that the industry can, through design, from design through to construction, how can they do better at introducing healthier materials into the industry and into our homes?
So number one, I'm just going to say, don't look at the individual product pricing because this is the biggest hiccup I see is that when it gets to quoting, people just look at individual products and go, oh no, it's twice as much as plaster or just as an example, or 3 times as much as plaster. And, if we have a think of the overall effect on a build, like building a home or even doing a renovation is normally the biggest thing you will do in your lifetime, the biggest impact you'll have on the environment and your life. And so thinking about one product being 3 times more than the crappy product you could have used is ridiculous in the scheme of things. And as builders, we really need you guys to think about that as well, because it's too easy to fall into that habit and go, oh yeah, we can't get over the line because it's more expensive. Okay, so have you explained the benefits to your client? Have you asked them, do they have allergies? Have you asked them, have they had issues with mold? Is this a house that's in the dark and we know it's going to get moldy regardless what we do? Do you know what I mean? So I think that would be the number one, is to take that out of the equation, because in the scheme of things, it won't make a lot of difference, but it's going to make a big difference to people's health and for our tradies on site, and also for the health of our environment long term.
I think with a lot of it too, if you're not going to step out of what you know and what you're used to, and I'm just speaking more to builders here, you've got to do it yourself. You've got to want to do it for, the future of your business and your clients, and what you put out there, you're going to attract back. So, if you want to take that step to learn about new products, have those samples on hand, then at least you're equipping yourself, your team, your design teams, everything to more move along there. And I suppose that leads me to actually, the next question. And right from your side of things, Julia, do you actually think there's enough understanding, about how materials are, sourced and made, manufactured before they're selected?
Not at all. I don't even think it comes into the equation most of the time. I can confidently say to you guys that the majority of new products that we sell are either designed from the architect or it's the end user client that is demanding them. And I mean, we've had examples where the client has wanted to use one of our products and the builder doesn't want to use it and is refusing to use it. And we've had to help that client find a different builder that's prepared to use the healthy alternative. Now that is nuts. This is a paying client.
It is nuts, but that's actually, it's becoming more like that. That is a pretty common story at the moment. We get a lot of clients, and I guess it's maybe the way that we put ourselves out there that we're wanting to do better and research those products, but it is incredible how many clients are coming to us with that exact story. You know, we tried the builder down the road and they weren't interested in using this product, to the point that the homeowner was going to purchase these products themselves for the builder to install.
We've actually had that. We had that happen in Western Australia. We ended up helping out a fellow over there, and he actually clad out it's like a barn renovation. He ended up doing the work himself with some of his friends.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that nuts? And we've got a job, a Forever Breathe home being built in New South Wales. It took over a year to find a builder.
It's a little bit crazy. And I know I just was emailing yourself last week, Julia. We've got an architect for a project that who's actually very open to looking at thermary claddings and so forth for multiple sources on this project. And I think we don't tender with our business. We're involved through our pre-construction process, so we're more in that position to have those conversations. And I know from previous over our journey where we have tendered projects years gone past, you might get a specification sheet, you've got finalised tender documents, and you probably don't. You've missed that boat to be able to have those conversations.
It's too late then. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely a part of the industry where it involves everybody to be involved with it, not just the builder, not just the architect, the client, all talk about it. And that's the advantage of working collectively and collaborate together.
Definitely. Well, and we've spent the last 3 years speaking at both ends. So we speak to the architects and we do presentations and we send out information and we follow up. And so we do a lot of that. And then the other end, we're talking to
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, and take a moment to thank our sponsors, Backman Builders, Calorie Building, and Build Imagery. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insight podcast wouldn't be possible. So jump over and show the support for them so they can continue to support the Build Insight podcast.
And obviously we do some different sponsorships and things, but we really try to speak the builder's language as well, so that it's not so scary when you guys see something on a spec. You don't go, what the hell's that? Well, how are we going to do that? So it is a really hard thing to hit both of those ends so that people feel comfortable. But yeah, definitely the builders, and you guys are in a difficult position as well, because there is so much weight put on your shoulders. At the end of the day, you need to warrant that build for 7 years. So if you're using a product you're not familiar with or not confident with, I get it. Like, I understand that is a risk to take. So I think for some builders, they just go, that's just too hard. I'm not even going to attempt it. And they move to the next job. So I applaud you guys for thinking outside the square and being different and actually going, you know what, we're going to do something better and we're going to be brave and try something new because we actually know it's better for the environment. So, I mean, we that's what we need, is we need more of you guys to be doing that so that we can shift this industry in a different direction, because, I mean, eventually everybody else will come along, and the ones that don't, well, choose to do something else, won't they?
Yeah. And the cost of the product's only one part. To go back over that too, like, I know, I might sound like I'm a salesman here for Thermary, but like our team installed the claddings like at record pace, like, and to the point where we took one of our main carpenters off. He was doing like a full wrap with one of the Thermary claddings. He'd been doing it for about a day or so, and we put him on another job, and he spoke to Darren, my business partner, and said, "Oh, geez, I'm spewing. I'm not doing that." I got a call from Darren and said, "Ryan wants to finish that cladding. Don't let anyone else finish it." And he came back the next day and he was just as happy as a pig in shit because he's like, "Oh, I'm so wrapped. I get to finish this." So I mean, the labor cost. I mean, we had no wastage from cracked boards. Like we didn't pre-drill anything except the top and the bottom of the panels. So I mean, there's pros and cons with everything that you do, but I think that's got to be in that conversation. An architect and a designer is not going to know that. The builder's going to know that better than anybody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, that is one of the biggest feedbacks we get on the thermary cladding is the fact that it's so lovely and light. So the fact that it's durable, but it is light, it just makes it so much faster to install.
I think the overall cost of it kind of comes back to the old school saying of build it once, build it right. Like if the product is a little bit more expensive, if people are seriously considering this and building their forever homes, like you said, like you touched on, it's potentially the biggest investment they'll ever make. Why use a cheaper alternative product that you're potentially going to need to replace 2 or 3 times when you can spend the money on the decent product from day one that's just going to last you forever? It's a bit of a no-brainer.
Exactly. Oh gosh, can I tell you? So we put, I bought the Renovator's Delight out at Lilydale, a beautiful old 1920s Cal bungalow that needs the whole lot renovated. And the first reno we've done is to put in an ensuite and walk-in robe because Mama needs a wardrobe. But the ensuite, we got a leak and ordinarily you'd absolutely panic, wouldn't you? Getting a leak, like we haven't even finished waterproofing and one of the taps, like, they sort of like capped them off with something. Anyway, came home one night and the whole freaking walls were wet. And my husband was panicking. I was like, don't worry. We got the plumber back out. We got it fixed. The plumber was panicking. I was like, we don't need to panic. It's Magnum board. So it'll just dry out. And I'm like, huh? Literally 2 days later, it's dry. Nothing wrong with it. Imagine if that was plasterboard.
Yep.
It would be stuff.
And start again.
Yep. And also just the wastage. We've had no waste. Like my husband's been putting the Magnum board on the walls and every little piece gets used because it doesn't break. There's no incidental damage at all. So, yeah.
There's Magnum board a similar concept to plasterboard, Julia? Like, does it have flush joints that you can flush it in like a plasterboard sheet?
It does, yeah. So it's got, we just call it a rebated edge. It's just a rebate on both sides. You can, you actually lay it vertically, not horizontally. That's how rigid it is. It's a lot heavier than plasterboard, but that also means that you don't get that incidental breakage. So it's fantastic actually also for schools and hospitals, NDIS. We have, with NDIS, you have to go on this SDA list. So it has to be approved for that type of home. And our 9mm Magnum Board Easy Line is approved. And the alternative is actually a rigid plasterboard and MDF behind it. So that actually would save you money on site and it's a much better system. 9mm straight to start.
Is it in comparison to the weight of plasterboard? Like how much heavier would you say it would be? Do you know roughly like per square meter or something?
I would say it's probably 3 times heavier. It is quite weighty.
So it definitely needs to be considered early in the design phase so that you're getting roof trusses and ceiling joists, that sort of stuff if you're using it.
You definitely would, but also you can use Magnum Board Easy Line can double as your bracing. So for instance, if you were doing a build and you would normally use an OSB, you could use the, instead of an OSB and a plastic wrap, you could just put in a 9mm Magnum board as your rigid air barrier and your bracing in one. And that's in that Forever Breathe spec. That's how it works. You have your normal stud wall and then you have 9mm either side of that. Your wool insulation on the inside, of course, because natural wool is also vapor permeable. It doesn't hold on to the water like polyester or nylon. And then you've got on the outside, you'll have a cavity batten and then either your weatherboard or whatever cladding that you're wanting to use. And on the inside, we don't use a normal acrylic paint, of course, because it's not breathable. We would use a Forever Breathe paint or a mineral-based paint so that you actually get that vapor permeable uptake.
So again, you really need to be the advantages of working from the early onset with your builder to get involved. You want to be having these conversations. Once you get to site, it's ship sailed. You're doing yourself
too late
service.
then.
So
yeah.
It's just another reason why you work from the onset with your clients and design teams and suppliers. It's really powerful.
It is definitely. And like even with the architects, like we talk to the architects about that Forever Breathe specification. That's the first part of our presentation usually. And they get it straight away, but it's also then making sure the builder's involved because you guys need to understand what you're dealing with to price it up correctly and get that right from the very beginning. And a Forever Breathe home shouldn't cost any more to build than a normal home in the scheme of things. Because you're actually replacing some parts with something else. It's a different way of building.
On that, sort of, where do you see the cost of building at the moment, Julia? And what would be your projection for the next 5 years?
Oh, that's a big question. So the cost of building has definitely gone up. I couldn't give you a number on it, Luke, honestly. Like we, even being in the industry ourselves, the products that we sell, we've had increases in excess of 30% over the last couple of years. I know there's estimates out there saying like 50 and 100%. It's definitely not that much. That's just media hype. But it has gone up a lot. And let's face it, wages have gone up a lot as well. And I think it's on top of wages. I think the other big thing now is the regulations. So thinking about safety on site, like in Victoria, we probably got hit the hardest, I would say, Dean, with that. Maybe not you so much in the country, but certainly Metro. You know, the safety regs and how we had to handle things on site, the amount of hold-ups. I can tell you that 4 years ago, the average time to build a home in Australia was like 6 months turnaround. And now you're looking at an average 9 months. That's money. That is where the extra cost is coming from. I don't need to tell you guys this. I'm telling your audience. Hopefully backing you up because I know that this is what's happened and this is what adds a huge amount of cost into a build. So, if we tick all the boxes at the very beginning and get these things right and shorten this time frame, that's going to make a massive difference. And outlook for the next 5 years? Well, ask me in another 6 months because the 7 stars have only just come in. So, and
have a stab.
Actually, can I just also say though, 7 stars has just come in and there's obviously lots of other changes along with that around ventilation and everything else. But I think we're going to notice next year that things will start to turn around from a market perspective. So what I mean by that is that we'll have this settling period, and you guys have probably been through this before. But for the consumer and the end, like the client that is building their first home, they've never been through it before. So for all of them, let's remind them that this building cycle goes up and down. And at the moment we're on the down, and next year it's going to come back up again. So sign up for your build now.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting 12 months, I think, once everyone sort of gets their head wrapped around what they need to comply with. It's definitely going to be times.
I think by the middle of next year, we'll know what we're doing, but 7 stars shouldn't really cost any more. I think the estimate was 15%, but in reality, there's other ways to build. So we've just got to be clever about it as well.
Absolutely. Very good way to put it. You just got to be clever about it. Get your team involved early, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So we'll work towards wrapping this up soon, I think, Julia. But where, I guess for anyone listening, where can they find yourself? Where can they learn more about McCormack's? Where can people get their resources from?
All right. So number one, we have a beautiful new showroom based in Keysborough. So people are always welcome to come and see the showroom Monday to Thursday, 9 till say 4:30, and Fridays 9 till about 3. We sell our products through Mitre 10, Bunnings, Bowens and Dawson's, and lots of independents as well. So they're really readily accessible and very easy to Google the products and get information. Samples are available through our website, mccormacksaustralia.com.au. If you head there, it's about $15 for postage and you can choose up to 5 samples and we'll send them directly to your house.
Awesome. So McCormack's are based in Victoria, but your products are available Australia-wide through those distributors?
Definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So you can actually order Thermary Save Board, Magnum Board, and some other bits and pieces online. So even if you go to bunnings.com.au, you can order our products online through their website, and also through mitre10.com.au. Mitre 10, even regionally, they will get the products in. So you can send an inquiry, get a quote, and they'll actually order the products into store for you. It's quite a good process.
I think too, Julie, you guys frequently get to, trade days, especially with things like your Bunnings, your Bowens, stuff like that if you're in Victoria. So, yeah, keep an eye out for McCormack's popping up around too. They're always good to have a chat with.
We're everywhere. Well, actually, our next thing at the end of August, we've got a trade expo with Finlayson and Mitre 10 up in Brisbane at the Brisbane Showgrounds. And then I think the next one after that is September. We've got the Bowen Building Expo. I can't remember where that is. I'm sorry. Clarendon Gardens.
I think it's September 11th at the Exhibition Centre.
There you go.
Might catch ourselves there.
Steve will be there.
At this stage, I look forward to meeting you there, Julia. I've got that booked into my calendar. I'll hopefully make the trip over from Adelaide as well. So that'll be an exciting time.
Yeah, that'll be excellent.
Can also catch a few things on the Build.Insite Instagram as well, because we have featured a few things there and some installations and so forth as well. So if you're keen on that, scroll through. Yeah.
And of course, McCormack's are also on the socials. We've got McCormack's Australia on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. If you check out the Green Design Show, James Treble did a little wrap up of the Green Design Show, and I'm there with hardly any voice talking about Save Board. But that was a nice little pickup. James does that show, renovate or rebuild.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Julia. It has been an absolute pleasure to chat to you, and I'm 100% certain that our listeners have got a hell of a lot of insight into some far more sustainable and better products that are available on the market. We look forward to catching up, hopefully in the near future over at the Bowen Build Expo, if I can make the trip over there. Otherwise, guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode. You have been listening to episode 10 of the Build Insite podcast with our special guest, Julia Hall of McCormack's Australia. If you want to find out more, head over to our socials and research build.insite, INSITE. Send me regular updates on the Instagram as well as on Facebook. Also check out our YouTube channel and weekly episodes launching for you on your favorite streaming services for the podcast. Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insite team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insite podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.